All right, here's the deal. My wife dragged me into a Hobby Lobby, and I was in that store for all of about 30 seconds before I knew they were up to something. So I go home, I look into it, and what I found is so insane. I wasn't even mad. I was just impressed. All right, look, if you don't know, Hobby Lobby is the biggest arts and crafts chain in the United States. Technically, Michael's has more locations, but Hobby Lobby makes way more money, so I'm calling them the biggest. Last year, they made $7.9 billion selling knickknacks and arts and crafts supplies. On top of that, they pay their employees $19.25 an hour minimum wage. On top of that, they donate 50% of their profits to charity, and then if you Google them, you find out they've been involved in more high-profile scandals than a Kennedy family reunion, including smuggling religious artifacts into the United States and somehow turning them into a massive tax write-off. And we're going to get into all of it right after a word from our sponsor. This video is brought to you by Supremacy World War III, a free online PvP military-based strategy game. It's based on a World War III type scenario where you can pick your country or you can pick a state inside of the United States because, well, let's face it, that's the only way it's going to be fair to everybody else. We just saw what Missouri did to Iran. Now, personally, I like to start off playing as Iowa for obvious reasons. Sometimes I like to attack Minnesota right out of the gate, turn them into Upper Iowa. Sometimes I like to attack Nebraska so I can prove once and for all that our corn is better. Okay, and I know what you're thinking. Why don't you attack Missouri? Well, for obvious reasons, they have B-2 stealth bombers and I don't want the smoke. I mean, I'm gonna fight them eventually, but I need some time to build up my army with tanks, jets, and nuclear subs. So if you want to give Supremacy World War III a try, it's free, both available on PC and mobile. If you use my link and discount code down below, you're gonna get a bunch of extra freebies. Let's get back to the video. All right, we're just gonna take this from the top. Let me set the scene for you so we can go on this voyage together. Wife drags me to a place called Hobby Lobby. It's in what appears to be an abandoned Kmart. We take 2 steps inside the door, and in my head, I'm thinking, okay, this is clearly the knick-knack / gift shop area of the store. They've done what a lot of other places do, like Cracker Barrel, museums, tourist attractions. They have the little gift shop knick-knack area right by the doors so they can upsell you on the way in and the way out. That makes sense to me. Never really seen it in a department store, so that's kind of unique, but whatever. So we continue walking through the store and I'm thinking to myself, holy shit, this knick-knack gift shop area is enormous. And then we keep walking and we keep walking and the knickknacks just never fucking end. They're everywhere. And then it dawns on me, the entire abandoned Kmart I'm inside of is one giant gift shop. At this point, the logical side of my brain is like, there's absolutely no way. So I start picking up the pace. I walk every aisle. I walk the entire store, progressively going into more and more of an existential crisis because there's absolutely no way that an abandoned Kmart full of knickknacks is a profitable business. But that's it. It's the whole thing. It's nothing but knickknacks. So I just stop in the middle of an aisle. I pull out my phone. I Google, how much money does Hobby Lobby make annually? $7.9 billion last year. There's no fucking way.
I don't believe you.
I've walked the entire store at this point. It's just knickknacks and arts and crafts supplies. That's it. The entire store is literally an elderly woman throwing the world's biggest garage sale inside of an abandoned Kmart, and somehow they're making a shit ton of money. At this point, I'm thinking like, okay, they're selling drugs out the back door or something. There's no way to logically explain this. So I get back together with my wife. She's got all the knickknacks and shit that she's buying. We go into checkout, and I'm standing in this checkout longer than I'm standing at the DMV. There's like 3 people in front of me. It takes fucking forever to get through this checkout line. So I asked my wife, I'm like, what is taking so long? I don't understand. And she's like, oh, Hobby Lobby always takes forever to check out at because they don't use barcodes. They have to type everything in by hand.
9
THD03
T
Okay, now at this point, I'm having a full-blown panic attack because I know that barcodes came out in the late 1940s because they were inspired by Morse code, and some dude that worked on the Manhattan Project invented them right after World War II. And now it's 2025 and we're not using them inside of the store. There's no fucking way. I am 99% sure I died in a car wreck on the way to Hobby Lobby, and now I'm stuck in knick-knack purgatory. Okay, then I take a deep breath and I'm like, okay, I think I'm alive. Okay, there's got to be an explanation for this. And I'm like, oh, obviously they're selling drugs out of the back. So it makes sense that they want to make checking out at this store as difficult as possible because they don't actually want to sell any of the fucking knickknacks because that's not how they make money. They make money off selling all the nose torque out of the back, right? So they're not going to want to sell the knickknacks. So that's why they make it as difficult as possible. Okay, it's got to be what's going on. So I finally get to checkout. Very nice elderly woman there being my cashier. She's very polite. She's very friendly. I start full on interrogating this woman. I'm polite about it, but I'm like, do you like working here? And she's like, actually, I love working here. I've been here for fucking like 20 years. I'm like, okay. all right. And I'm like, well, what do you like about it? And she's like, well, they pay us a lot of money for how hard the job is. So I like it. We get good benefits. The company donates 50% of its profit to charity. And I'm like, okay, well, they're not selling drugs here. That's weird. And I'm like, do you mind me asking, like, how much do they pay you guys? And she's like, well, I've been here for 20 years. I make more than a lot of people here, but our starting salary is $19.25 an hour is our minimum wage here.
Get the fuck out of here.
I'm serious.
Yeah, no, I'm serious too.
Okay, now I'm completely flabbergasted. I'm now absolutely positive that I did die in a car wreck on the way here, and I am in fact stuck in purgatory. And she finishes checking out, I pay for my stuff, and I was like, am I allowed to leave? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, if I walk out that door right now, it's not just going to turn into me walking back in, is it? And she just looks at me like I'm crazy, because I fucking am at this point. And she's like, no. And then I walk out, I get in my car, and I fucking go home. All right, so here's what happened. 1970, the founder of Hobby Lobby, David Green, took out a $600 loan and started making custom picture frames in his garage. And apparently that business went pretty well, because by 1972, he opened up a 300 square foot arts and crafts store in Oklahoma City. And then 2 years later, he opens up another one, and then another one, and another one. And the next thing you know, he's got 1,000 arts and crafts stores all over the United States of America. How is that even possible? Well, in Oklahoma in the 1970s, when he was getting started, there was a humongous oil boom, and that's where like the oil industry is primarily located, is Oklahoma and Texas. So everybody that was living in that area had a bunch of excess money. So all the housewives and stuff were going and buying a bunch of arts and crafts and a bunch of fucking knickknacks, and it just made his business explode with the oil boom. And now, hindsight being 2020, when I'm not actively surrounded by all the knickknacks and arts and crafts, you're able to step back and actually analyze it. And the business model does really work, because they're knickknacks, they're arts and crafts. They never go bad, right? Like, it's not like a perishable item at a grocery store that like, I need to sell this by this time frame. Like, no, if I don't sell all the Christmas stuff this year, I'm just gonna throw it in a box in the back and I'll pull it back out next Christmas season. We'll sell it then. So he really doesn't have anything going bad. He has no overhead as far as I'm gonna lose this if I can't sell it right away. On top of that, I was correct. It was an abandoned Kmart. They literally go and seek out abandoned department stores to put Hobby Lobbies inside of to cut costs and overhead.
Shit just got real.
Okay, if you're not picking up what I'm putting down, it's actually the simplest business model on the planet. They just import a bunch of cheap shit from China, mark it up 10x, throw it on the shelf for a month. If it doesn't sell, they slap a 40% off poster on that entire shelf. Then people think they're saving money. They swoop in, they buy it all up, they assemble the arts and crafts themselves, and they sell it on Etsy. It's basically the spawn point for Etsy, essentially. It's just the chicken sandwich from Chick-fil-A concept. They picked one thing they want to be good at, they became the best in the world at it. Okay, David Green is the Michael Jordan of selling arts and crafts and knickknacks. That's all there is to it. So how on earth did he do it? This is the crazy part. Nobody knows, including him.
No clue.
I literally read his entire book. It's called Leadership Not by the Book. And essentially, David Green is a super religious Christian man. He's literally the son of a preacher. And he basically says that Hobby Lobby is owned by God. He's just looking out for it. So whenever he has a big business decision to make, he prays about it and waits for God to tell him what to do. And then he does it. And somehow, it always works out. Like, the dude is literally just running Hobby Lobby off of vibes, and it's working. It's literally either got to be divine intervention or he's the luckiest man in the history of the planet. Now, his religious convictions are also what drove him to do what I would deem as a lot of pretty good stuff, like giving all of his employees a $19.25 an hour minimum wage and benefits. They also donate 50% of their annual profits to charity, which at face value is just good in general, but also if you're working at that company making well above industry standard for being a cashier or a retail worker, and then you also get the added benefit of knowing that, like, hey, my company's making a bunch of money off my back, but a lot of that money's going back into charity. I'm doing some good in the world. So it's just good for the overall culture of the company. And then, of course, they're closed on Sunday, which, regardless of whether you're religious or not, if you work in retail, you know you're always working weekends. So it's nice for the retail workers to get a weekend day off, to get the same day off as the rest of society. Now, those same religious convictions also get him in a bunch of trouble because they've had a ton of controversies. And I'm gonna be honest with you, the vast majority of them, in my opinion, are a gigantic nothing burger. They're basically people looking for reasons to get upset.
You took everything from me.
I don't even know who you are.
Except for that time they got busted for smuggling artifacts. That one was legit, but we'll get there. We'll just gloss over the other ones real quick. They got busted because they weren't selling enough Hanukkah stuff at their Christian arts and crafts store, which... Okay, like I'm willing to bet they weren't selling a lot of Muslim holiday stuff at the Christian arts and crafts store either. I don't go to Burger King and get mad they don't have fucking pizza. Like, you're looking for reasons to get upset. Okay, it's 2025. If a store doesn't have what you want, get on Amazon and order it. It'll be there tomorrow. Why are you picking fights for no reason? Next thing, they got in trouble over women's contraceptive with their insurance, and they actually took this case all the way to the Supreme Court. Like, David Green was willing to let Hobby Lobby go bankrupt and close all of them over this fight. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily a good thing, but part of me is always going to respect a man that's willing to put his balls on the line for what he believes in. So here's what happened. The birth control controversy gets played off like Hobby Lobby wasn't willing to pay for birth control with their insurance for any of its female employees. That's a partial truth. The actual truth is they weren't willing to pay for the morning after pill or the week after pill. All the other birth control was fine. Which, regardless of how you feel about it, that's on brand for an evangelical Christian. And whether that's right or not, I don't really have any strong convictions on, but I will say this, it seems very silly to take that court case all the way to the Supreme Court, spending millions and millions of dollars fighting for the right to force him to buy the morning after pill when the morning after pill is $10 fucking. You could have taken all the millions you spent trying to sue him into submission and bought every employee at Hobby Lobby 50 fucking morning after pills and gave it to him for free and just solved the fucking problem. And that's the majority of their controversies. They're all just culture war nonsense issues. But then we get to the religious artifact smuggling. All right, so before we get into this, I got to give you guys some background on like tax law and tax code, just so we're all on the same page. Some of this is going to be a review for a lot of you guys, but some of this is just misconceptions that people have. Okay, so first thing we have to understand is what is a tax write-off? Because a lot of people think they understand it, they actually don't.
It's when you buy something for your business and the government pays you back for it.
Oh, and who pays for it?
Nobody. You write it off.
People hear tax write-off and they think, oh, that's money that they save right out of the gate. That's not really how that works. So I'm just gonna give you a real life example to clear it up, okay? Hypothetically speaking, say that I make $100,000 a year and I donate $1,000 to charity, okay? People seem to have the conception that now I have to pay $1,000 less in taxes. That's not how that works. So you didn't actually save $1,000, you saved $400 and donated $600. Now it's like normal people doing charitable donation type stuff, but when rich people like billionaires and big companies, they have ways of getting tax write-offs that actually make them money. The most notorious and most famous is the fine art method. Okay, so if a company like Hobby Lobby, hypothetically speaking, comes along and wants to invest in some fine art. Say they go to a fancy New York art gallery and they buy a painting for $100,000 and they sit on it for 5 years. And then 5 years later, they hire some fancy art appraiser to come in and appraise this piece of art. And the art appraiser comes in and says, oh my God, this thing's absolutely brilliant. I think it's worth $20 million. Then the company can donate that artwork to a museum and their tax write-off is not for the $100,000 they spent on the painting. The tax write-off is for the $20 million that it's appraised at. So they didn't save 40% of $100,000. They didn't save that $40,000 in tax write-offs. They saved 40% of $20 million in tax write-offs. So effectively, they paid $100,000 to get out of paying millions of dollars in taxes. Is that right? I have no idea, but it's absolutely 100% legal. Hobby Lobby decided they were going to do the same thing, but instead of buying fine art, they decided that they were going to buy ancient religious artifacts because, well, that's what they're into. They're evangelical Christians. They want to be able to buy all these Christian artifacts as an investment, and then they could donate them to a museum, make sure that those things are then preserved for history, and they get to save millions of dollars in taxes while doing it. It's a win-win as far as they're concerned. So in like 2010, they just start buying up all the biblical artifacts that they can find. They have no experience in buying this stuff. And when you buy something like this, there's like channels and ways that you're supposed to do this. You're supposed to, I don't know, make sure it wasn't fucking stolen from another museum, for example. They don't do any of the checks. They were warned that they were going about this the wrong way. They just kept buying up thousands and thousands and thousands of artifacts, despite the fact they bought fucking chunks of the Dead Sea Scroll, which wound up later to be fake because, again, they didn't hire the right people to help them do this. And they ended up buying all these cuneiform tablets out of Iraq, including the Dream Tablet, which is part of the Epic of Gilgamesh. The Epic of Gilgamesh is one of the first human stories ever written down from Mesopotamia 3,500 years ago. Like, it's a pretty important artifact. It's literally like the Ark of the Covenant, Epic of Gilgamesh, and the Rosetta Stone. Like, it's crazy how important this artifact is, and they bought it. And oddly enough, it ended up being looted from a museum in Iraq in 2003, and they were not supposed to have it.
That belongs in a museum. So do you.
So around this point, the government gets involved and they start asking questions, at which point, Hobby Lobby kind of pleads ignorant, like, oh, I'm just, a billionaire and I didn't know that I had to go through all these checks and balances to buy this kind of stuff. They basically play it off like, I didn't know any better, my bad, which, you know what? Maybe, but they shot themselves in the foot because when they imported them into the US, they had them labeled in US Customs as ceramic tile samples, which not true. So they ended up getting in a shit ton of trouble. They had to return the Epic of Gilgamesh and like 3,000 other artifacts over. They got returned to Iraq and Egypt, and they had to pay a $3 million fine. But there was a bunch of other artifacts that they did get to keep. And then with those artifacts, they had them appraised, and I was able to find that the average appraisal that they got was approximately 3 times what they actually paid for them. And then they donated them to a museum and got a huge tax write-off. And that is where most people quit digging because that was enough damning evidence, and most people just care about making Hobby Lobby look bad. I don't care about making Hobby Lobby look bad. I just want to know what the fuck happened. I like facts. I like the truth. So I asked one simple question. What museum did they donate them to? They donated them to the Bible Museum in Washington, D.C., to which I had one more question. Who owns the Bible Museum? Motherfucking David Green, the same one that owns Hobby Lobby.
Son of a bitch.
Do you understand what I've just told you? Okay, dude literally became a billionaire by selling knickknacks and is like, you know what? I'm into religious artifacts. I'm gonna start a collection because I'm a billionaire and I can do whatever the fuck I want, which, you know what? Good for you. That's great. He starts his little collection and then he's like, you know what'd be cool if I donated these to a museum, but also I'm a collector. Collectors like having their own shit. That's the whole point of collecting something. How can I possibly get a humongous tax write-off and also get to keep all my cool shit? Oh, I know. I'll just own the museum that I'm donating stuff to so I still get to control everything. I'm not even mad. I'm impressed. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know, but it's absolutely brilliant. Buh! So him being super religious is all just an act so he can look like a good guy, but he's actually not. Buh! No, that's not what that means at all. It is not hypocritical for a Christian to avoid taxes, okay? At no point in the Bible was Jesus ever like, hey guys, what if we gave the Romans more money? Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not co-signing everything this guy does. I'm just saying I'm good at putting myself in other people's shoes to understand their perspective. And from a very, very Christian man's perspective, being able to give less money to the government so they can, I don't know, buy $60,000 missiles to shoot at people that live in mud huts so he can collect biblical artifacts, put them in a museum, preserve them for everybody else, and share them with the world, hopefully convincing more people to become Christian to save them, is probably a net positive from his point of view. I'm just saying, you can call this guy a lot of things, but you cannot say he's not a legitimate, super devout Christian. Because at the end of the day, for better or worse, he was legitimately willing to close Hobby Lobby down over the Plan B thing, and he still gives away 50% of his profits to charity. Now, granted, some of that 50% of profits is him buying cool biblical artifacts and sticking them in his museum, but again, from his perspective, that's a good thing because he's sharing the word of God and trying to, help educate people and preserve it for mankind. Facts are facts, and whether you like it or not, this is 100% legal, and I usually, more often than not, subscribe to the theory of don't hate the player, hate the game. I need to start a World War II museum, buy a bunch of cool shit, and then donate it to myself and save a bunch of money. Anyways, thanks for watching my knick-knack-induced panic attack. Best way to support the channel is go buy some merch over at thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. All right, I gotta go call Brandon Herrera. Definitely not to pitch him a war hero and gun history museum. Okay, bye. Oh, wait, hold on. I actually have an announcement. All right, for 4th of July, I'm giving away a fully decked out Jeep Gladiator. It has absolutely everything. It has 44-inch wide front and rear axles, a 3.5-inch lift, aftermarket shocks, 37-inch tires with a full-size spare in the back, and custom leather interior.
Slow down, baby.
All you have to do to get entered to win is head over to Bunker Branding or thefatelectrician.com and buy some Fat Electrician merch. I don't care what it is. Shirts, hats, hoodies, water bottles, rubber ducks, absolutely anything is fair game. For every $5 you spend between June 30th and July 31st, you are automatically going to be entered one time to win this Jeep Gladiator. We're going to announce the winner in August. Now, the downside of all of this is that you're not allowed to do nice things without the government getting their cut too, meaning that if you win this Jeep, it's going to count as taxable income on your tax return, and you're going to have to pay thousands and thousands of dollars, both in sales tax, registration, and this being taxable income on your taxes. So I'm also going to give the winner a check for $10,000 to hopefully cover all of that. It kind of depends on state to state. And of course, it's going to come with an autographed rubber duck.
Yeah, baby! That's what I've been waiting for!
So yeah, go get some Fat Electrician merch over at Bunker Branding or thefatelectrician.com. Quack bang out. So if you want to give Supremacy World War III a try, it's free, both available on PC and mobile. If you use my link and discount code down below, you're going to get a bunch of extra freebies. I'm going to go find a beer.